I call Peter Lamb.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and could I congratulate my friend, the Honourable Member for Edinburgh North and Leith, in bringing forward this particular bill. Devolution has been an interest of mine for a very long time. In fact, it was a topic of my master's dissertation and my first job outside of politics. So thrilled to be back dealing with it all again as a member of the Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Select Committee. And the bill today reminds me that one of the main arguments in favour of introducing devolution was about freeing up parliamentary time. It was considered bizarre that here we were in the late 20th century when it was all being debated, with feudalism in Scotland still there because no government could possibly find the parliamentary time in UK Parliament to try and resolve these issues and other issues of concern to residents in Scotland. And that highlighted the importance of producing bodies that could grant that time to considering these issues and many other issues on the local basis of what could deliver best for residents within those areas. I think the fact this is coming through as a private member's bill today continues to highlight the importance of trying to secure better parliamentary time for different parts of the UK for the issues that matter to them, and the importance of devolution to ensuring matters of relevance for Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland are addressed, as indeed hopefully England in due course. I'd note that the amendment continues with this approach, empowering the devolved government's ability to implement the changes in their own particular way. It highlights how it remains entirely possible for the nations to have the right powers to deliver for their residents or citizens in the right way without having to engage with all the problems that would come with any actual approach to independence. So long may that approach continue. I'm glad to see the consultation which has taken place with devolved administrations, as I believe that consent is an incredibly important part of the process in ensuring that our devolution settlement operates well. And I believe that this is critical, even though we still technically, as a unitary system, have parliamentary sovereignty within this place, and the UK Parliament can still technically legislate unilaterally in these areas. But if the devolved settlement is to survive, it's going to have to be one where every part of the United Kingdom is prepared to play their role in that partnership. I can't claim to be a fan of the Elections Act, which brought many of these provisions into place. During my time in local government, I was the chair of the working group that the Local Government Association set up to go through the provisions of the bill, assisted by representatives of returning officers and representatives of electoral services administrators. It would be fair to say that their views of most of the provisions were wholly negative in the context of what the bill sought to do, and many of the arguments did not seem to make a huge amount of sense at the time. Nonetheless, we did produce a number of cross-party conclusions in relation to that, which regrettably were not adopted by the LGA until far too late in the process to really have any viable impact. Nonetheless, the aspects contained within this particular bill, I believe, are positive. They should help to enable greater access to absent voting for residents in Scotland and in Wales, and avoid, hopefully, some of the confusion that comes out of all of this. We have an increasingly confusing set of electoral arrangements as a country. The fact that we have all these many different types of electoral systems that we've now employed, the fact that we have different age ranges in different places and different rules around how you do this, that and the other. And it creates growing problems, I think, with confidence in our electoral system when people think that it's one set of rules at play and in fact there's another for different contexts. It is important to our democracy, and I recognise it's a challenge to do this, that as far as possible the general public do understand how the systems operate, how they select their governments, how they express their voice. It's a critical part of the UK retaining genuine democratic accountability. And the more that can be done to harmonise arrangements across the entirety of the United Kingdom, and harmonise systems to ensure that there is a much simpler approach for people in how they go about expressing their views to us, the greater the level of confidence, I would argue, would be in the system. Certainly having two different sets of arrangements around casting your votes can't do anything much to encourage people to engage with the process. And I think when we look at the most recent general election last year, and of course it's a year today that we had that election, the very low levels of turnout suggest that there are issues that need to be addressed in how we try to engage people in the process and encourage them to participate. One of the big problems, if you don't have a viable system for enabling people to cast their votes and taking into account the different capacity that people have to attend polling stations, is you risk having a bias in the system in favour of one set of groups and against another set of groups, that the able-bodied, the younger may well be in a better position to participate, or the less busy, similarly, might be in a better position to submit their vote, and you gradually move the electoral system in favour of only part of the population. It delivers outcomes for those elections which may result in the system no longer acting as a voice for the whole of society, but only, or at least distorted in favour of only part of that society. I think we're all aware of some areas where that already happens, with greater levels of turnout with some groups relative to other groups, resulting in them having sort of a preferential status in our electioneering. The more that can be done to make it as easy as possible for people to cast their vote, the greater the likelihood that we'll have a more representative sample of electors participating in the system, and the more likely that all of our different institutions will genuinely represent the views of residents, of sort of constituents within the country and consequently within policy. So I would just conclude by saying that I once again congratulate the honourable member for bringing this forward. I think it's an important step in trying to address many of these issues, and I hope that further steps can be forthcoming to try and increase greater accountability into our democracy and greater democratic participation. Thank you.